Sony did it again, everybody. We got a new Villainverse movie, and this time it's based off Kraven the Hunter. Was it good or bad? Here's my review. Alright, so heading into this movie, I liked the trailer. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. I liked the trailer. I thought it looked pretty decent as an action movie. But Sony does not have the best track record in movies like this. I mean, this is a studio that put out my least favorite movie of all time, Morbius, and then put out Across the Spider-Verse, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and then put out Madam Web. It's a very interesting studio, especially for the fact that these are movies about Spider-Man villains, that makes some of the most diabolical villains anti-heroes without showing Spider-Man. Genius, right? What could go wrong? I went on a double feature a couple of days ago to go see Y2K and this movie, and what did I think of it? I'll tell you right here in my review. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe, like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what is your opinions on Kraven the Hunter. We're going to go spoiler-free, and then at the very end of the video, we're going to talk some spoilers, because I need to discuss spoilers from this movie. With that said, here we go. Hear me out, guys. Hear me out. Saw Y2K, saw this the same day. This was the better one of the double feature. I genuinely actually kind of enjoyed this movie, and part of me hates the fact that I enjoyed this movie, but I did enjoy it, because just like I said when I was talking about the trailer, it is an action movie. It's a revenge thriller starring Kraven the Hunter, who is not Kraven the Hunter. It's just Aaron Taylor Johnson, who calls himself the Hunter every now and then. This should just be the Hunter. This isn't Kraven the Hunter. But because I am someone who likes action movies, because I am someone who is into movies like this, I kind of enjoyed the movie. There are positives here, and I genuinely feel like this is the one out of all 6 movies in this franchise that I would go back and rewatch the most. In fact, I'm kind of trying to find a day, probably won't do it, to where I could take my brother to go see this movie. I don't think we can, because obviously in a couple of days we got Sonic 2 and Mufasa. That's going to be a double feature of its own. We got several other movies coming out in December, and because it's the end of the year, I have to catch up on quite a bit of things I haven't seen yet. So I probably won't be able to give another shot to this in the theater, even though I would like to take my brother, but we'll probably just wait for the 4K release. But this is a movie that I could see myself going back and revisiting, going back and watching this movie, because it's simple. It's a revenge thriller starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I like Russell Crowe. They're both in the movie. They're both okay. They're not doing their best performance. I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was charming enough in this role, but the main frustration with them is the fact that it's not Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter constantly looking for something to kill, so he can have that one prize, the final hunt, which is one of the best Spider-Man comics of all time. Highly recommend you guys give it a read. I think it's called The Final Hunt, something like that. But this isn't Kraven. This is a guy that's deciding to call himself the Hunter, going to kill people. But because it's a stereotypical action movie, and I like stereotypical action movies, it's not going to be the greatest of all time, but it sure was entertaining, and the stupidity added a little bit something here. I mean, when we talk about spoilers, there's going to be some things that are going to be insanely fun to talk about. Is the action in this movie any good? It's okay. It's not the best. I really liked that this one was rated R. The only one in the Sony Villainverse that is rated R. So you can see blood, you can see guts spill out. That's what I really enjoyed. And so, like, when you just see people getting bodied over and over again, it's got its stereotypical funness to it. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. CGI, not very good. I laughed out loud when I saw Rhino's face when he finally showed up. And that CGI fight is nonsense, but it's entertaining. It's, again, story I like, movie I like, and the stupidity in this movie kind of gave it a little extra breath. And so it's very watchable. There's not really anything besides like the honest stupidity that we have to talk about in spoiler section that I could really completely dog on, because to be completely honest, I enjoyed this experience. I can't lie. When movies like Morbius come out and I watch that movie is boring. That movie is torture to watch. I cannot watch that movie without wanting to die. Quite literally. I hate that movie. And then you get movies like Madame Web earlier this year, which I thought was completely entertaining for all the wrong reasons. Not as near as entertaining for a couple of the right reasons as this one is. But, I mean, that movie wasn't very good. And then you get Venom 3, which was entertaining because of how dumb it was. And then you get movies like this, stereotypical action movie, has the dumb stuff that we will talk about here in a minute. But it also has the entertaining stuff. It has the stuff that made it worth watching. And overall, I left the theater saying, hey, I had a pretty good time with that. I'd revisit it. It'd be a fun movie to watch. It's not boring. It's entertaining. It's completely stupid, but it's entertaining. So, go skip to about, I'm only going to talk spoilers for about 5 minutes. Skip to near the end of the video. I'll try to put chapter markers down below. That's only if you haven't seen the movie. If you have seen the movie, stay tuned. We're talking spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, skip to the end because I think it's worth watching. Especially where people like my family, they're not movie critics. They don't care about the big high budget movies. They just want to be entertained when they go to a movie. The audience just want to be entertained, and I think audiences will be entertained with this movie because I was entertained, and I'm a critic. But we gotta talk spoilers, so skip to close to the end of the video. That will be my spoiler, or that will be the end of my spoiler talk where I'll give my score, my recommendation. And with that said, 3, 2, 1, spoiler talk, baby. Yeah, I said it was entertaining. It's a stereotypical action thriller. There are some moments, there are some pretty wild moments in this movie. The movie starts off with a stereotypical action sequence that, obviously, because it's got action, it's got blood, I enjoyed. Kraven just goes to the prison, he fights the bad guys, kills the bad guy, and instantly off the bat, you instantly know, this isn't Kraven the Hunter. This is a completely different guy. But it's fine, because you don't go to these Sony villain-verse movies expecting lore accurate. You go to these Sony villain-verse movies expecting stupidity. And once you come to know what to expect heading into these movies, you'll understand. And so, instantly right off the bat, we get a stereotypical fun action sequence. And then we veer off to 20 to 30 minutes of origin story. I groaned. Like, the moment that I knew what we were doing, I was like, oh my god, we're actually doing this. And trust me, man, the origin story makes absolutely no sense. Get this. This is how Kraven the Hunter got his powers. I will explain it right now. Kraven the Hunter got his powers because some random kid somewhere in the forest decides to play with his grandma's tarot cards and give him this secret potion that'll give someone immunity or superpowers or something. Okay. What? It's just a random kid. We go off for about 5 to 7 minutes. And we're just sitting with this grandma and this random kid that we're supposed to care about. Don't worry. Don't forget this random kid. I thought it was a he, honestly, at the very beginning of the movie. But she will come into play later on in this movie. Don't forget about her. Don't. Because she's still here. So, she gets this random potion. So, Kraven and his brother, they're going hunting with their dad. His dad says, don't be weak. Don't be weak like your mother. You got to be strong like me. Goes hunting. They hate their father, obviously, because he's kind of a douchebag. But then there's a lion, and for some reason, not Aaron Taylor Johnson, but Kraven starts communicating telepathically with this lion. The lion starts to leave. Okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden the dad comes, shoots the lion. The lion physically attacks and mauls Kraven. He's dead. But oh no. No. Remember when I told you not to forget that secret potion? Yeah. 5 minutes. I'm assuming this is only like an hour later after Calypso gets this potion. Calypso's the little girl's name. Calypso gets this potion that, told by her grandma, save this for a special occasion. I trust you'll know what to do with it. She gives it to this random guy that she never meant that she sees dying. She doesn't think, this could be important for me later in my life. No, she just sees this random guy, goes chase after the lion. She doesn't worry about that or anything. She goes to this random guy, gives him the potion. And yes, that's right, folks. Kraven gets his powers basically by a radioactive lion. You can't make this up. Only Sony. Only Sony. Only Sony would come up with something as wild, as crazy as this. It's convoluted. It makes no sense. Kraven's origin story is a bunch of baloney. Highly entertaining, though, so it's okay. The main story in this movie is Rhino. He gets rejected in the origin story. So basically, he's talking to Russell Crowe and says, "Hey, I want to join you." And Russell Crowe's like, "Nah, you're weak." So what's Rhino do? His life goal is to get back at Kraven and get back at Russell Crowe. Just because Russell Crowe didn't want to work with him. It's stupid. Yeah, it's completely stupid. But, I mean, the whole plot is really crazy. He kidnaps Kraven's brother, who turns out to be the Chameleon. We'll talk about the kind of epilogue here in a few minutes. But yeah, they kidnap him. Couple fun action sequences. Nothing too crazy. There is some things that don't make sense. The whole Calypso, everything with Calypso is, whoa! It's something. That's for sure. It is definitely something. Everything with Calypso. So there's a line in this movie. My favorite line in any other movie in planet Earth. Talking about her grandma that gave her the potion, said, "My grandma died shortly after. I haven't seen her since." Really? Really? You haven't seen your dead grandma since she died? Huh. Who in the world could have guessed that? Not me. Not me at all. I had no idea that that's how something worked. I genuinely did not believe that's the word that came out of the mouth. I sat back and was like, huh? That's an actual line that someone wrote? And no one thought that was a weird line. That's a line that someone actually wrote and got put through Hollywood, through a bunch of executives, the people that made Across the Spider-Verse, read that line, put it in the movie. Okay. That's smart. I could not believe it. The character arcs in here is just Aaron Taylor Johnson saying, "I'm a hunter." His dad saying, "Don't be weak like me." And then Calypso being like, I'm a lawyer. I'm a good little lawyer." And it doesn't matter because she kills people later in the movie. People she doesn't even know, with Kraven, who's this killer that he doesn't even know. She helps him out and kills a bunch of other people, but she's a lawyer, so she's a good guy. Calypso's character sucked. Like, I'm sorry, you can cut her entire plot out, because everything that she did in this movie was stupid, was useless, pathetic. I hated everything that she did in this movie. Worst part of the movie by far. And she didn't really work. And so typically, superhero stuff happening, you go, you fight, you get your brother back. The final fight with Rhino, where we finally see Rhino, I mentioned earlier in the video, my spoiler-free section, that looked horrible. His CGI was awful. I'm okay with it, though, because it was funny. But, like, he's got these, like, human eyes and human lips with, like, the big rhino face. It's horrible looking. His body looks great, but the face was... I mean, delaying this movie several times and still putting that product on the screen blows my mind. It actually, quite literally, blows my mind that is what they did there. Okay. Typically, they kill Rhino, movie's over. Apparently, Kraven's dad is the one that was setting all this up. So, Kraven's dad finally gets what he gets. Stereotypical action stuff. Entertaining. And then, we get the end of the movie. The movie's over, right? We still got 15 minutes? What else is there to explore? You know what would be a good idea for our last Sony villain movie of all time? Hopefully. Let's set up a Kraven the Hunter sequel. So we spend 15 more minutes. I sat in that theater for 15 more minutes setting up useless stuff. His brother's a chameleon. He's speaking to a doctor. They're now rivals. And then kind of like Kraven's like, oh, I'm accepting my destiny. I'm bad now. I'm a bad guy now. Huh? What? Why are you, it's just like, oh, hey, it's almost like, actually, that they made this movie to be something completely different. It's almost like they made this movie for a guy going on a revenge thriller to save his brother, have action stuff. And Sony was like, what should we do? What would be really smart to do in this movie? Hey, let's call it Kraven the Hunter. And then try to add 15 more minutes where it's like, oh, hey, yeah, that's actually Kraven the Hunter. His brother goes, you're just exactly like Dad. How? No, he's not. No, he's not. What? He saved you. He saved you from murder. I don't get it. And it was just like a thing to be like, yeah, it's Kraven the Hunter now. Some random action guy. No. We'll give you money if you call it Kraven the Hunter. And make us crave it even more. That was a bad joke. There's some money. Money, here you go. Here's some money. Just call it Kraven the Hunter and add 15 extra minutes that make no sense at the end of it. And so, yeah. Crazy stuff. I would be interested in a sequel because I had so much fun watching this. But, we're not going to get it. The movie's bombing. I had 4 total people on opening night for this movie. For a Marvel movie. In retrospect, Venom The Last Dance had a packed theater. In my smallest theater. But it was a packed theater. Kind of sucked because we had people talking in the audience. Shout out to you guys. I love you guys. Anywho, 4 people in the audience total to see Kraven the Hunter with me. No one cares about this movie. We're not getting a sequel to this movie. I kind of hope we do. I kind of wish we do because it was entertaining, but we're not. Alright, this right now is the point where the spoilers end. We're done talking about spoilers. Kraven the Hunter, absolutely ridiculous. Before I give you my final score, please make sure to subscribe, like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What is your opinions if you have seen Kraven the Hunter? Or if not, want to know all that down below and more. What are your anticipations for this movie? Are you glad the Sony Villainverse is done? Or are you like, hey, these movies were just so over-the-top ridiculous that I kind of enjoyed them. Some of them I enjoyed. There will be a ranking in the next couple of days of the Sony Villainverse. I'm going to rank all 6 of those movies. And then with that said, so, Kraven the Hunter, Sony's Kraven the Hunter, finally ends this terrible universe with a slam bang. It's completely ridiculous, makes no sense half the time. But hey, it's a stereotypical action thriller, something that I typically enjoy, and so I did enjoy it. It's getting a B- from me. This is in my top 30 of the year. It says more to how bad of a year this has been. This is in the top 30. That we have good movies. I'd say this is a good movie. It was entertaining. I'd watch it again. But I think it's like number 26, 25, 24, 23, somewhere in that range. It's in my top 30. I would watch it again. It's up to ranks with movies like Roadhouse, the new one. Just movies that I enjoy. Not special movies. But the year of 2024 total has not been a great year. Compared to last year, 2023, which we had several of movies I'd say are best of all time, several of the best of the decade. And then we get 2024 where like the best movies are Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Inside Out 3, or Inside Out 2 rather, and The Wild Robot. Fantastic movies. 10 out of 10 right there. But besides those 4 I just named, the rest of them at the top of the list are great. But none of them I would consider putting at the top of the decade besides those 4. Where last year we had the top 10 was some of the best of the decade so far. Disappointing year. But hey, this is a movie I had fun with. It's within my top 30. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. And with that said, stay tuned in the next couple of days for a Sony Villainverse ranking. And with that said, subscribe to the Nerd Army. Peace out.